Hi everyone, Trisha here. Welcome back to my wee kitchen. Today I'm going to make some canned coleslaw. I've mentioned her before, but if you ever get a chance, watch City Girl Homestead. There's a girl, Chris, on that channel. She's American and she's absolutely brilliant. Seen that she'd canned up some coleslaw. So I thought to myself, let's try it. I'm just going to sanitize off like I always do. Start and shred this. I'm going to try and shred it as fine as I can get it. It's sort of like that size, sort of chunks. Basically, I've went ahead and shredded that whole head of cabbage up till about this size. I like it a wee bit chunkier, and to be honest, this bowl's not going to be big enough. So I do have another one. Look the size of this. I call this Big Daddy. I'm just going to transfer all my cabbage into there because the carrot, onion and pepper has to get mixed into it. So I want plenty of space that I'll be able to make one head of cabbage and one carrot, but we love carrots, so I'm going to try and put a wee bit more in. And I've never used the mandolin in this before, so let's see how this works. So I'm just going to cut my carrot up into sort of the length pieces of carrot I want in it. I think that size would be pretty good. And simply try this mandolin and see what sort of, oh, I'm getting nice cuts there. You see those little bits? That's what I want. This is the first time I've used a mandolin in this, so I'm pretty happy about that. I'm just going to put this on for safety reasons, if I know how. Yeah, that's it. I don't want any nasty cuts. The rest of this can maybe go to my bag in the freezer for veggie soup. Keep all my scraps for veggie soup. We'll just tidy this off. I'm just going to cut it. Top and tail. Take that white flesh out. Put it with the rest of the scraps. I'll get the rest of these done and then I'll be right back. So I've got the pepper cut up. So it's about this size. I've just thrown on top there. I think one pepper is going to be enough of that for us. And the next thing I'm going to put in is half an onion. So basically all I've done is peeled the skin of the onion, cut it in half and left the root on. And see if I can use this mandolin. I want the same sort of small bits of onion. And I'll get on to the next step. And we need to use 2 full tablespoons of salt. I'm just using pink Himalayan salt. 2 whole tablespoons and put it straight over everything. This is going to sit now for an hour to an hour and a half. Basically as long as I can leave it, but it'll probably be a couple hours. Salt's going to draw all the moisture out of the vegetables. We have to rinse it off a couple of times with cold water, so I'll just put it through like a colander and run cold water over it. So I'm just going to cover this now and let it sit, let it do its work, and I'll be back later on when we're going to jar it up and make the brine. All this cabbage mixture has been sitting, actually it's been sitting for about 4 hours, maybe a bit longer, and I've just strained it off, put it through water, clear water, about 3 times, and you can see the way I've been pushing it down on the colander just to get any excess water out, and it's still coming out. So it's a good idea to drain that off really well, and I'm just going to set it aside and we'll make up our pickling mixture. So in this pot I'm going to put, there's 1.5 cups of apple cider vinegar going in, and 1/3 cup of water and 3 cups of sugar. That seems a lot of sugar, but that's a lot of cabbage. 1.5 teaspoons of mustard seed. I'm using these yellow mustard seed. So that's 1. And we also need 1.5 teaspoons of celery seed. I love the smell of that. And 1. Let's put a lid on that in case I spill it. I'm using this on the camping stove again today, but once I get this heated up and chill down a little bit, then I'll be putting I'm going to actually steam can this. It's water bath for 15 minutes, but I'm going to steam can it, and I'm going to use my Presto, the 23 quart. If it's sitting over, you can just see it on the stove. It's sitting over there on a low heat, and I've got my jars in the oven. They're not getting really hot. Just checking the water in my canner's not getting too hot. I'm actually going to turn that off now. I just want a slight bit of heat in it. So we'll turn this off. Means boiling hot. I don't want to shock the jars with the cold coleslaw, so I'll show you what way I'm going to work around that. Just grab one of these jars. I can actually hold them in my hands, but not for a long time. That shows you the heat in them. And I'm just going to start by, get rid of that. I'm just going to ladle a little bit of this mixture, this liquid. I'm going to ladle a bit of that down into the bottom of the jar. Just so I don't shock it when I put the cold cabbage and stuff in. So here we've got the cabbage, coleslaw mix, and with clean hands. Make sure your hands are nice and clean for doing this, guys. You just want to start loading it. Apparently you load this as tight as you can get it. I'm going to put another little bit of this mixture in. And more cabbage. And it says this should do 6 jars, but we'll see. I'm just going to use my just push it down a little bit, and I'm going to leave a 1-inch head space. So we'll just pull this aside a little bit. I'll show you. For those who don't know or are new to canning, 1-inch head space on this is going to be just below the rim here. So I filled this with cabbage. I actually think I could get a bit more in there. So I'm going to try a little bit more and pack it down. And a little bit more. This is all different shreds of cabbage. Didn't manage to get it all sort of equal. I'm going to ladle the mixture in, and you just have to let it sit for a second, just till it makes its way down. Like it says, that's 1 inch there, but and I'm going to debubble. Put your debubbling tool in and work it right down around the side of the side of the jar, and you'll see the bubbles come up. It's very important you do this. Get it down in the center as well. Push it down to the bottom. You don't want any bubbles in there. It can harbour bacteria. And push it down. Yeah, I'm happy enough for that. And that's at 1 inch head space. So I'm just going to get a clean paper towel. And just soak it off with water. I know there's sugar in this recipe, but I'm sure there's none around the rim, but you want to make sure you clean that rim really well. Just give it a good clean. And you'll feel also at the same time if you feel any chips there. Any chips or cracks on the jar top, your seal won't stick, so it's a good opportunity for you to check your jars, okay? And put my lid on. Just got my new lids here in a little dish of warm water. Put your lid on and put your ring on. Finger tight. So that's basically like those three. You're using these 3 fingers, finger tight. And that's one ready to go into the canner. Excuse me. Just set that back on the warm sheet here. And we'll just do one more. And I'll do the rest of them off camera. And I'll bring you whenever I'm putting them into the canner. Just the same. Just fill that cabbage in there. As much as you can get in. I'm hoping this is going to be good. So basically, once this is processed, you let it sit undisturbed for like 2 to 3 weeks. Let all them flavours develop, and then bring it out. Take as much as you want out of it. Rinse it off and mix it with lovely fresh coleslaw. Or sorry, fresh mayonnaise. Coleslaw in the Brine. Now, more of a mixture in. Right there. I'm going to debubble right round the sides. Down the centre, push right down, you'll feel the bottom of the jar. You don't want any air pockets. Push that coleslaw down in. I actually think I can get another little bit in there. So we'll put another good chunk in. And you want to leave an inch head space, so you don't want anything above that inch head space. Push every bit down in. Okay, and the same piece of paper, just change it over so it's not a piece you've already used, and do your rim again. You don't want to stay in there, sure you don't. Go down in and just go right round the rim. Any sugar or anything on there, it'll want to stick, so you don't want that. And my hot lid again. Centre your lid and stick a rim on with the band. And finger tight, use 3 fingers. That's as tight as you can get your 3 fingers, that's finger tight. Okay, I'm going to continue on doing this and I'll bring you back whenever I'm going to put them in the steam. It's been sitting just on simmer, so my jars, I've got a rack in here as well. Make sure you always have a rack on the bottom. You don't want to put jars straight onto the base of the canner, or they could crack. And I actually got 6 pints out of that load. I actually had to make a little bit more brine up, but that was fine. There was enough brine for 5 pints. So just keep that in mind if you're going to use the recipe. You'll have enough brine for 5 pints. I think it depends how much cabbage you're actually using, okay? So I've got my jars in my sort of like, it's not boiling hot, but it's just warm water, okay? And I'm going to put the lid on. When you're going to use this for steam canning, make sure your vent pipe, you can see daylight through it. So hold it up towards the window and look through, make sure you can see daylight. And this lock switch make sure it's tight and everything's tight on it. So just going to line my V's up, put the lid on, push down and pull the handles together. I'm going to crank the heat up now. Okay, I don't like using it too high. I don't want the bottom of the pot to get damaged directly against this gas. And I'll bring you back the next stage. As I say, this is going to be steam canning, so we're not going to be using this, we're not putting any weight on here, but I'll show you the process once I get a bit of steam coming out of the vent. I've had this heat on for about 10 minutes now, and you can see the steam starting to come out of the vent pipe, but that's not the stage. You just want to leave that, let that steam keep coming out of here, and whenever she builds enough pressure up in here, just the same as if you were going to put your 10-pound weight on, the water in the bottom is producing steam, which is coming out your vent pipe. So once there's enough pressure of steam in here, this little lock will come up, and it's not until this little lock locks in place that I'll be starting to use it as the steam canner. And I reckon it'll take another 4 to 5 minutes for that to happen. She's producing her own steam there, see? Call this one the big lady. This is the 16 quart Presto Canner. So I have now the 16 quart plus the 23 quart. 23 quart I use if I'm going to do like 16 pints of whatever. I can double layer them in it, but this one I use for single or a single batch of 7 quarts. It's a smaller pot, so it gets up to temperature and everything else easier for me. And I just love them. I just wish a lot more people would do a lot of pressure canning over here. But we'll see how this goes. Now, a disclaimer guys, this is not a USDA recognised recipe. I've done my research as much as I can, and I feel confident in this recipe. Once it's all processed and in the back cupboard for 2 to 3 weeks, when I go to use it, use your own judgment. You know if something's off by the look of the colour of the jar. Once you open it, you hear that pop with the lid. Make sure it's processed properly, and use your common sense with your nose. You smell the contents. If anything's bad at all or doesn't smell right, just bin it, bin the whole lot. But as I say, you do what's right for your family. If you decide to do this, you do it at your own risk. And I'm not going to jeopardise my family either, so. And a lot of it's trial and error. I haven't canned anything yet that I've been iffy about eating. Everything's been absolutely fine. You can see the steam starting to increase there. You can see behind my hand. So once this little lock switch pops, that's when you start your timer. You do not put your weight on here. We're not pressure canning, I'm steam canning. And it's the same as using a steamer. You're going to have lots of steam in here. Same principle, only different appliance. And this recipe I got off, I call her a friend now, Chris from City Girl Homestead. A lot of her canning recipes are things that I would be wanting to can for my family. So if you get a chance, go and check her channel out. She's brilliant. Thank you, Chris, for allowing me. I actually approached Chris to see if I could use some of her canning recipes. I just don't want to go ahead and steal other people's recipes without asking first. So thank you, Chris. You can see it's getting more rigorous here. The little lock vent is starting to move, so there's a lot more pressure in here from the steam. And once this comes up tight, I'll start my timer, but I'll turn the power down a little bit, just a little bit. If this drops at any stage during the processing time, then I would have to restart the timer and everything else, and I don't want to do that. So couple of seconds my lock should pop. So you're not going to be going by the gauge or anything. There's no weight going on here. Now, you can see the little locks come up. So now I'm going to set my timer. I'm going to turn the heat down a little bit. And I'm going to set a timer for 15 minutes. I'm going to turn it down by half. So I'm going to see how this goes with this. This is the first time I'm doing this. In my research, I got this off Farmer's Wife Homestead. She's a lovely girl called Stacey in Australia, and she uses her Presto as a steam canner. So, give me the idea here. I want to try this instead of water bathing. I don't like having big pots of water. I just don't like it. So I prefer if anything's going to be water bathed, then I can steam can. But you all know meat times. Anything with meat in it, it has to be pressure canned. So in that case you'll be using your weight and going by your dial. Okay, I'm going to let this go for 15 minutes and then I'll bring you back. So once my timer goes off, all I'm going to do is turn the heat off, and I'm not going to touch the canner itself. I'm just going to turn the heat off and wait for the pressure to go down, the steam pressure to go down. And once this little lock clip goes down, then I'll open handles and I'll leave it 10 minutes just sitting with the handles pulled slightly ajar, and then I'll take the lid off and I'll bring you back at that stage. Your windows are on vent whenever you're doing this. There's quite a, even though it's only a small stream of steam there, steams your windows up, which I've learned. So make sure your windows are all vented. And obviously with the gas going here, you want to have like your windows on the latches. Make sure there's air coming through. So I'll just wait for Alexa and then I'll turn the power. There she goes. Alexa, off. I'm going to turn the power right down to off. And it stops almost immediately because the heat's gone, obviously. And the little switches just pop down. And do you know what? I'm actually going to let this sit for 5 minutes. I'll put my timer on for 5 minutes just to let it cool down slightly. The timer's just went off there for 5 minutes, just sitting with no heat on. So now I'm just going to take the pressure off by just parting the lid like that, and I'm going to leave it for 5 minutes, and then we'll lift the lid and take the jars out, the exciting bit. The timer's just went off there, 5 minutes is up, so I'm just going to lift the lid off, lift it away from myself. There's a lot of heat in there. See all that steam coming out? Always lift your lid away from your face. I'll get rid of this. Look at that, isn't that gorgeous? Absolutely gorgeous. And just set it down onto a dry towel. You can hear them hissing away there. And don't put them too close together. Can't wait to try this now. Be so handy to have. And it's so satisfying to hear the pings. See all those lovely jars, guys? I'll turn you around. You can see them there. That's canned coleslaw. Now I just have to wait to hear the pings. These are extremely hot, so the centre of the lids will get vacuumed down as the jars cool, and you hear the satisfying pings. So this is just a wee, it's a new recipe for me actually, so I just want to say the recipe that I'm going to put in the description box. It's supposed to make 5 pints, but what I had cut up filled me 6 jars. So I recommend you actually do the brine 1 1/4, if not 1 1/2 times, just so you don't have to start like me and make more. Okay, so there we go. That's been quite successful, I think. Thanks for being here, guys. Thanks for watching as always, and I'll see you next time in my kitchen. Bye. Bye for now.